Hey everyone. So I haven't made a video in a while, and now that we're locked down again, I figure I might as well. So this one is about using Achieve 3000 because it seems like it's a super easy, convenient thing to use. And if you're using it, and if you're watching this, I assume you are, you know that it differentiates for each student, automatically, which is wonderful. And yet it seems like people aren't really using it to its full potential. And there's a really specific couple of things in there that I think would probably help to improve that for a lot of folks. So I'm going to go over pulling a report out of Achieve and then what we do with it in my school, in my group. And the reason that we tend to be pretty successful with it. So just to give an idea, at our school we typically, now anyways, this year, we've been telling our students that they need to do one assignment, one article per day. Now we don't assign them manually. Of course, the system automatically assigns a whole bunch of things. But what we've kind of noticed is that not only is it easier for us to not manually assign this stuff, but also the kids seem to be more apt to do it and not mind doing it if we just allow them to choose whatever they feel like reading. We'll show them, here are some things that are assigned to you by the system. You can do those. It's convenient. And then we'll normally show them how to search by keyword, and then how you can break the search down by different genres, by art, science, technology, whatever. And then sort of leave it up to them at that point and just tell them do one per day, whatever one you want. And the thought behind that is, granted, it might not relate directly to what we're doing in reading or grammar or whatever, but at least they're using it, right? They paid for it and they're using it. Now, of course, some students use it more than others, and we've got to sort of get on them about it, and that's what this video is really more so about. Because apart from aggressively, mandating that they do a whole bunch, I think the reporting aspect of it is really the most powerful tool in here for us as teachers. So to get into it, this is what you'll see when you sign into Achieve, and if you've got Achieve, you should know this. To get to reports as a teacher, you click the menu over here, come down to Student Reports. So menu, the three little bars, Student Reports. And then normally the one that I use on a week-to-week basis is one of the usage reports. Which of my students are using the program. Now, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of other ones. What I've noticed with Achieve is that while they will update the student-facing portion, they rarely seem to update the teacher-facing portion of their software, which is fine, really. I mean, if they're going to put money into it, into making this better, they ought to put it to the student-facing side. But the reporting is kind of lacking, in my opinion. So, at any rate, we will look at how many articles the student has done, how many 5-step articles the student has done, and we'll push them to do more if they need to, and we'll sort of congratulate them if they don't. And we do this 1 to 2 times per week. We may give them time in class to do, 1 or 2, but it's essentially homework that they have every night, regardless of weekends, regardless of holidays, from the day that they do the initial Lexile level exam until the day that they do the final Lexile level exam at the end of the year. So generally speaking, that's how we do it. But this reporting is how we really get them active in it. So we'll click here, which of my students are using the program. And then normally what I'll do is leave these defaults here because it defaults to the 1st of September of the year that you're in. And then it defaults to, as you can see, today's the 6th, it defaults to the 4th. So the data here is always 2 days behind. Even if you put in the 6th, it's going to give you data from the 4th. And I think the reason for that is there are so many students and so many activities and things to be tabulated and calculated that it takes some time for their system, their servers on the server side to catch up. So it's always 2 days behind, and that can be frustrating, but Tell your kids that. Tell them it's always 2 days behind. If you're looking at the reporting on a Monday, which I would kind of recommend doing it on a Wednesday for that reason, but if you're looking at it on a Monday, you might not want to yell at a student if they don't have everything done, because they're going to say to you, I did it on a Saturday or I did it on a Sunday, and that's probably a valid point. But at any rate, from here, you'll click View Report, and you can just view it from here. But what I like to do, what we like to do, is we'll click Export to Excel, and that happens, you get this, click OK. It opens up a new tab, and it says Download Excel file here. So what you want to do is right-click and do a Save Link As. Then you can choose where to save it, and it'll give it a file name. Now, I've already got one saved there that I've modified slightly, and I've got that in my Google Drive. So let's take a look at that one. So as you can see, I've called it Achieve Data Sample. It gives it a name already, which includes the date. You can just keep that name the way it is. But you notice it's .csv. CSV stands for comma separated value. And what it is, it's a table that is created where the different fields in the table are separated by commas. It's pretty simple. And then the different entries with all of those fields are separated by going down to another line. And so it's something that can be opened with, Notepad or TextPad or even Microsoft Word, but it's a table, so it's made for spreadsheets. So what I'm going to do next, now that I've got the data, but it's in this crappy format, is create a Google Sheet. Now you can use Excel for this. It works exactly the same way. You can use Apple's Numbers. You can use LibreOffice Calc, whatever spreadsheet system you use. I try to use Google, and so I'm going to create a blank spreadsheet. Takes a second because of my slow internet connection. Get out of here. You can name it whatever you want. You'd probably want to name it something better than that, like Achieve 3,000 results for December 6th, for instance. And then what you want to do is usually leave the highlighted cell in A1, unless you specifically know you want it to start somewhere else. Leave it in A1 and do File Import. Yes, but I see it. Now, if I click on Recent Files here, you'll see it's right there. But I know where I saved it in Drive, so I can click that file now and do Select. And this is how you would import any CSV file, because of course Achieve is not the only thing that you'll get CSV files for. They're used all the time. I think it's an older format, but it's a format that is compatible with lots of different softwares. And so that's why it's still used, because it's kind of a generic format. What you want to click here, you can do New Spreadsheet, Insert New Sheets, Replace Spreadsheet, whatever. I'll normally do Replace Data at Selected Cell. That seems to work well for me. I think this time actually I'll do Insert New Sheet, and that way I've got one sheet that's just the generic sheet 1 that opens up whenever you open up a new file, and this will put it into a separate sheet, because we'll create a couple of sheets in this spreadsheet. Now for separator type, you can leave it at Detect Automatically, or you can change it to comma. Either way is fine. Detect Automatically for sheets works well for Achieve 3000 data. And then it says Convert Text to Numbers, Dates, and Formulas, and I normally leave that as yes, and it usually does a decent job at that. So let's do Import Data. Give it a second. And you see I still have my sheet 1 here, and then I have that CSV file data. Now, I've already gone in and changed some of the identifiable information in here. So the data is real, but the names and things obviously aren't. There's no one named L name or F name. But this is what you get right from the start. And right off the bat, this looks super confusing. And that's exactly what I thought when I first saw it. So let's clean this up a bit. Make it a little bit more readable by, a normal human. So the first thing I'll do is make this bold, highlight it, make it bold. You can click the B or hit Control B. And then, let's let's see, we can do Control A, which selects everything. And then if we double click right here on any of these separators, it will size the columns. Oh, it only did it for one. Hang on. Let me try it this way. Click one, and then the last one, and then do it. There we go. And what that does is it will size the cells so that you can see everything that's written there and that's written along the top. So that makes it a little bit easier to read. The reason this one is so wide is because they've put some junk down at the bottom here. So this is the name of the report. It's from Achieve. And then these are exceptions that are listed in that default report. So all activities, and it says with the following exceptions, work completed in my class only, not other classes for other teachers. So frankly, you can get rid of this if you like. Highlight it and delete, and then if I do that, you see now it resizes it normally. Now these first ones are pointless. District, for us anyways, always says GlobeEd district, so it's useless data. Lexile adjust enabled. I don't know why you would use this without having Lexile adjust enabled, so they probably all say why. There may be a reason, I don't know it. And then school. Well, I know what school I'm in, so I'm going to delete those three right off the bat. Just dump them. All right, so now I've got the class, and you can see that does vary. So this would be like 10B, 10C, 10D. I've put class, XYZ. Now, you'll have all of the students' different names here, obviously. It won't just be L name and F name, but again, I did that for anonymity. And then there's a student ID. Now, this is not an ID that my school assigned to the students, but rather it's an ID that the Achieve company assigned to the students. So it means nothing to me. This product scaffolds, same thing. It's their internal marketing information. As far as I know, it means nothing to me. Now, grade might matter to you if you have multiple grades. For us, I only have one. It's actually prep, but Achieve doesn't have a setting for prep, so they either mark it for prep between as either 8 or 9, depending on who's inputting the students at the beginning of the year. And so those things aren't needed, in my opinion. And again, you might want to keep the grade column. This icon thing, frankly, I'm not sure what it means. Developing reader, I'm unsure what that means as well, though I have seen that turn into a yes. I believe it's a yes if your students have a very low Lexile level, like a 95. However, I think if your students are in the triple digits, then that will always be no. So even if you have a student who's at a 95, you're going to know that anyways, but you should look at this data at least a couple times, at least once a month, let's say, to see what's happening with the Lexile levels anyways. So this developing reader thing, I don't find it important. So I'm going to dump all of that stuff too. I'm going to get rid of it. So from student ID all the way over to here. I'm deleting it. Don't need it. So here's the bulk of the information that might be useful for you. Now, first login. This is exactly what it tells you it is. And as you can see, we actually had our students take their initial exam on the 12th of October. So some students didn't open it up after they took their exam. Many students did. So after taking their exam, if the student opened the program itself, the website itself, it'll show the 12th of October. Otherwise, it'll show the next time that they did. First login isn't very important to me, but if you stagger when you have students take their initial exams or do something else where it is important to you, then it might be. The total number of logins I'm generally not concerned about. However, you will sometimes see students who have 2 logins, but 100 activities. So they did all of them at once. And the problem with that is the way this system is set up, a student needs to do a minimum of 8 articles per week for their Lexile level to change. So if you say to a student, okay, throughout the year you have to do 70 articles, let's say, and they choose to do all 70 within 1 month, well then they'll have 1 month where their Lexile level will change, and then it will never change again because they won't be doing new articles. So you need to have not only that lower limit of a number of articles that the students need to do per month, per week, per day, but also an upper limit. In effect, I mean, if a student is going to continue on doing 70 per month every single month, great, that's good. That's a little over 2 per day, that's wonderful. Most students wouldn't do that. So you need to explain to them it is not advantageous for you to get them all done in one day or 1 week. You need to have this be an ongoing effort to improve your score over time. And it does take time, and you need to make that clear. And so if those things aren't a big concern, which they aren't for me because we watch our students closely, then these 3 columns right here aren't going to matter very much. Last login might matter if you have a student who's failing to keep up with the amount that you're requiring. You might look at their last login and say, hey, why haven't you been in this in 2 months or whatever? But again, we go over this with the students regularly, and showing them these reports is the thing that will keep them doing it. So, and we'll talk about that more shortly. So I'm going to get rid of these as well. After school logins. This column is basically, to my understanding, if a student logs in after, I think, 4 o'clock, it shows it as an after school login. So if you have students use time in class, it won't show up there. If they're logging in after school, it will. Again, not a big concern for me personally, but you might structure the way your students use the software in a way that maybe it does matter to you, in which case you will know that. That's what that one is. I'm getting rid of it because I don't need it, basically. Now, you can, of course, right-click and just do hide column so that you just don't see it, but it's still there if you want to keep this data there. I don't. I can always revert back to that CSV. So even though we've created this spreadsheet, the original raw CSV data is still there, and I can pull it anytime I need to from their website as well. So I just get rid of the things that I don't need because I know that data is still available. Now, I'm going to close this one quickly here. Unfortunately, Achieve creates 2 separate windows and 3 separate tabs just to download their report. I have no idea why. Again, their reporting system in here sucks, and that's why we have to deal with this crap. So at any rate, now you've got the real material that you want. So you've got the class your student's in, of course, which student it is, their Lexile level currently, the number of activities that they've done in this case. So this will depend on how you set up your report initially. So I've got it set up for year to date. And every week when I take it, and I may take it twice per week, this report, it's always year to date. I want to see the cumulative sum of what the student has done up to that point in time. If they get behind, okay, I may want to look at how many did you do in a certain week, or if a student has promised that they're going to do X, Y, Z 1 week, and you want to look at a certain number of days to make sure they did it, sure, you can do that. I always do reporting year to date. It's just easy to keep track. So this Lexile level is their current Lexile level. Activities are year to date. Invalid activities is a confusing one for students. There are a bunch of reasons why an activity might be considered invalid. So if a student does it too quickly, where the system thinks that they're not reading, or if they're just selecting A for all of the questions, or there are some other things too, boy, and I can't remember all of the conditions. But what I've noticed is that typically you'll see, with any given student, up to 10 to perhaps 15% false positives. So these are ones that show as invalid but are not actually invalid. And I show this all to the students, and I'll say to them, look, it does not appear that you're trying to game the system. You might want to avoid the word cheating, but it depends on your relationship with your kids, but I'll say to them, I don't have a problem with 10 to 15% invalid. When I see more than that, then I start to be concerned. So for instance, let's see, do I have a good example in here? I'm pretty sure that I do. Well, for instance, right here, so here we've got 3 activities, 2 showing invalid. That said, the student hasn't really done enough to have a good data set. If this were the first week and that showed up, I might talk to that student and say, hey, what's going on? Where I'm more concerned though is when we start to get up higher in the quantities. So here we've got 30 activities, 15 of which are invalid. That student tried to cheat. That's it. There's no way around it. Even if they were fast once or twice, overall, they're trying to cheat. They're trying to get a whole bunch of them done to get caught up. And so the next thing that I do takes care of that. Now, you might want to also highlight this row and do, let's see, where is it in here? View, freeze, up to current row. And this way, as you scroll down, it freezes that row so you can always see the heading. And again, as you can see here, this last student has 30 activities, 15 of which are invalid. That's 50%. That's above and beyond the norm. So what I'll do is right click here and do insert one left. So it gives me another column, and I'll mark this actual activities. And now it's as simple as putting in one little formula, equals activities minus invalid, and that is the number of actual activities that I'll give the students credit for. Now, unfortunately, this student here did 53 activities. I don't believe any of them were invalid, and yet when I subtract one from the other, they get 52. They have to make up that one at some point. That's a bummer. But I'm not telling them that they're cheating. I'll say to them, hey, make up that one when you get an extra 10 minutes, would you? Or when you get an extra 15 minutes. Typically, these take 15 to 20 minutes for a student to do. Some students are fast, some a bit slower, but 10 to 20 is normal. Minutes per activity, per 5-step activity for a student to do. So normally a student in this situation is just going to say, okay, whatever. A student in this situation down here, where you're only seeing 15 actual activities, that's a situation where you might bring the student aside and talk to them. You might say, hey, the system is showing that it looks like you're trying to essentially cheat, and we can't have that. So here's what I want you to do about it. Slow down, think about the questions before you answer them, etc. And say, if it continues to be a problem, then I'll involve the vice principal, call your parents, yada yada, do whatever it is that you need to do as a teacher in a disciplinary situation. But give them a fair warning, because students don't know how the system is, and they'll test it. And I always think of that Jurassic Park movie when they say that the dinosaurs are jumping on the fence to test it. It's what these kids do too. So usually these things happen within the first couple of weeks, within the first month. 1 or 2, maybe 3 students per class of, let's say, 20 will test the fence, and they'll get electrocuted every time, and then they won't do it after that when you call them out on it. And usually students don't mind that so much, as long as you don't make it into a big deal, which, in my opinion, it's not. I'll say to them, hey, you thought you could get away with it, you can't. That's a bummer. Now you got to make up those 15 that you missed. So at this point in the year, with this data that I have here, I would have required students to have had 50 of them done already. So now you can do a couple of things. You can take this data and give them a percentage score. So like this student has 52 done, 52 divided by 50 will give you the percentage score. So we can just do equals that divided by that. And now this part's important. Since you want to calculate it for all of the students, you want to put these dollar signs into the formula so that that 50 stays static. And then you can drag this down. Oops. Usually you can double click it, but you can drag this down. And now when you get down to the bottom here, you'll see K1 stayed the same while the G103 changed. And then I would highlight this change it to a percentage, and let me see here. I didn't actually want to do it for that top one. Okay, it looks like it's got them all. Format, number, percent, and there you go. It gives a percentage if you wanted to score them that way, or if you wanted to give them an idea of how they've actually done. You could use it for an actual grade. I mean, it's basically a participation grade. Did they or did they not participate? The student participated 18% of the time. The student participated more than what was required. So you can do it that way. What I like to typically do is then take these and find averages, create charts, things like that, and then give that information to the students. So I'm going to get rid of those right there. What I'll normally do is take and let's see, I might highlight these for instance and block them out. Now take the next class, block it out as well. Okay. I mean, you can do all of the same things that you would normally do with a spreadsheet now, of course, since the data is in a workable, is human readable really. But then I'll do average. Now I've got this formatted as percents, so I'm going to change that back, automatic. And I can do equals average. Get the average of this class. I might do equals average on the number of actual activities as well. Actual activities. And then you can do things like make charts out of it, which I'm not going to show you all of the functions of, using a spreadsheet, simply because, because I've got other videos on that actually. There's a whole Excel series of 3 or 4 videos that gets into some more things about how to use spreadsheets. But there's a whole bunch of data that you can pull out of this. So like you can see this class W has done 62.7 on average out of a minimum required of 50, whereas class V has only done 29. So I would talk to class V and tell them, hey, why is it that class W is able to do this without a problem and you guys are having such an issue? You might look at it and say, are the people instructing that class not focusing enough on it, for that matter, if it's an important thing to you? You might look at it and say, class W has a bit of an advantage at 694 Lexile level over 666, fun number, though 30 Lexile points isn't much, basically. That's sort of, that's almost within margin of error, frankly. But there's a whole ton that you can do with this information now that you've got it in a human readable format. I'll normally make charts to compare the different classes to one another and compare them to the minimum required and the average of all of the classes, so that the classes as a whole know where they stand in relation to one another. And then normally I'll also show all of these students in a chart versus their number of activities, which is really simple to do. Highlight the two, and unfortunately these will all show F name, but then you can do insert chart, and there you go, you got a bar chart. So now I'll just leave that there for a moment and change some of the names. And you can see Tim, Jim, Rob, Joe, Bill, whatever. And you can see which students are above or below whatever the minimum is that you set kind of easily that way. And it shows the students that you're paying attention. I've done another video on data and using data in the classroom and just showing students that you pay attention to this and that you're going to be on them once or twice a week, every week. Oftentimes is enough motivation to get them to do it. there's also, of course, the motivation of, we want to beat the other class, or I want to have the highest score in my country or in my school or whatever. That's oftentimes enough to get them motivated to do it. But these are sort of the basics of how I use Achieve, and the most important bit is that I will show these students this information. The whole class, all at once, I'll say, here's where you are, here's where you should be, here's where the class average is, here's where your peers are. And we don't use it in my school as a direct grade, but you could use it as like a weekly quiz grade for that matter, in which case you might want to be a little bit more sensitive about showing them their number of activities with all of the other students. But I don't do it that way. I show it with all of the students. And you might say, well, now you're comparing students to one another. Yeah, I'm more so using one student against another to try and push them, to try and motivate them into doing it. And I found that for most students, that works. Now, if a student gets way far behind, they're going to be demotivated. In which case, help them out. Tell them, look, I won't beat you up, but for the next week, you've got to do 2 per day. Give them smaller goals if you think that that's what they need. But what you'll see over the year is each month, if they're doing at least 8 per month, as is the requirement of the software, their Lexile levels will steadily increase. And what I've found over the last 4 years of doing it, the first year we required like 2 per week, something like that. And we saw an average Lexile increase of all the students year over year, or throughout that year, I should say, of somewhere around 50 points. The following year, we made it about double, and it was something like 80 points. Last year, we made it, 4 or 5 required per week, and we saw an average Lexile increase of 100 points from the beginning to the end of the year. This year, we're targeting 120-ish. We're going to try to get our students, on average, to bump their Lexile level up 120 points. And to do that, we're requiring them to do 1 per day. And I think that that's probably enough to get it there. Now, you want to talk to the Achieve folks about this, because I don't know. We have not been able to directly correlate an increase in Lexile level to an increase in score. However, they're reading. If they're reading every day, they're getting something out of this software. They pay for it. You want them to use it. This works, but you've got to show them that you're paying attention, that you're watching them. And if you do that, it seems to work pretty well. I think that's about all I got. Sorry, this was 33 minutes long, but it's kind of confusing software, especially the reporting. But if you do it this way, in my opinion, it makes it simple. There are lots of other reports. Download them the same way, open them up in Excel, get rid of the junk, get rid of the trash data that you don't need, the things that just say the same thing for the entire column, and then take what you do have and manipulate it however you need to, or rather, report on it however is practicable. Lexile level change year over year. I'll look at what their initial Lexile level was. I'll look at what their final Lexile level was. And then, of course, take the average of that change to figure out what the overall average is for throughout the year. And so you can look at the data in multiple different ways. But the important bit is look at it. Because if you're not looking, kids will know it. They won't care, or they will game the system, try to cheat, have a bunch of invalids. We use this as a hard data point because that's exactly what it is. And it's so simple to use. All you really need is a web browser and a small amount of, not even really a skill, but just comfort with using spreadsheets. Anyways, that's enough out of me. I hope this helps some people. Enjoy.